Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Final Fantasy Tactics A2. This one's going to be a little bit of a different one. This is going to be a lot of it's all going to be post-commentary. I'm going to be going through all of the different clan trials and what they have in terms of like their privileges that you get from them, just pretty much everything having to do with them. Because I've kind of sort of touched on them a little bit, but not into extreme detail like I'm going to go into this one. I'm going to be showing a battle of, like, the highest one for the most part. There's going to be one that I don't do that because there's a privilege I hadn't got. The first one's going to be the general training one. It's pretty kind of, as it's like the literal meaning, it's very general. You get increase in all of your talents. If you go to the highest level, you get 5% off on quests and items in the shop, which is pretty nice. The best increase is with General Training 2 with 20% off on everything. But you do have to fight 6 sprites, which is a bit of an annoying one. And there are, as you can see to the right, there are privileges for each level. The unfortunate thing, though, is that you can't miss in this trial if you want to get the bonus for completing it with the law intact. You don't have to do that. In this, you can miss and just kind of go with it. But there are some that like explicitly say if you don't hit your if you don't keep the law intact, you lose entirely, which actually is kind of bad. And sorry. This is going to be a long episode, guys. I thought about breaking it up into a couple different episodes, but I think it's all just good to get it all together and put all in one video. Essentially, and I'm going to keep that whole, okay, this is what you get, the whole video, and that's going to be for each different one. Some of them are going to be more beneficial to you than others. General Training 2 is going to be probably the best if you want to increase your talent levels, but there is one that is going to be like phenomenal to go with, especially if you're wanting to do MVP stuff. And I kid you not, I scoured the internet to find the answer of how you get an MVP. No one knew, and it was like articles from like 9 years ago that was the top results, which is kind of sad. Thankfully, I do believe I have a 100% idea of what actually constitutes an MVP. So, we're good there. And I'll get to that when we actually get to that clan trial that actually is the most beneficial in that regard. But this one, it goes by pretty quickly because all you're doing is fighting sprites, and they're pretty easy to take out. They're not even level 20, and if at any point you were trying to figure out if were you ever going to have troubles with these? It's mostly no. The only ones that I would say that would pose a issue, if you would have any issues with them, are going to be the ones you got to keep the law intact and win. Those can be a little bit annoying, but for the most part, they're nothing. They're really not. And this sprite made the deadly decision of getting countered and KO'd. But that's it for General Training 1. It's pretty simple, and those are the bonuses. I would say, if anything, the best one to go for is the professional level, and just keep going for that and get the bonus CP. Now, for General Training 2, well, hold on. Let me kind of put it this way. If there is a, like as you see, bonus CP 1, 2, and 3, you do not have to go 1, 2, and 3. All you have to do is go and do the highest level and just constantly do that one, and you'll just get leveled up. Which is nice. Which in this one, the Legends rank, you get debuff resistance 5. All you gotta do is do that one 5 times. There you go, you got debuff resistant 5. That's what I did. Also, you do have the move up 1 and 2, which I do have the 2, and all I did was do Master Adventurers twice. There you go. And also the Regenera and Regenega are in this as well. So I've done pretty much all of these. Now, the law is you can't do more than 20 damage. And I will say that is actually really difficult. There's only a few ways to actually pull that off, because you have to defeat him in 3 rounds. One of them is this way that I'm kind of pulling up now, is actually using a Seek with mirror items and then just use a Phoenix down and hope for the KO. Now, there is a small chance that you will miss in that. Another one is to get him inflicted with doom, give him haste, and he'll just end up dying. But if you don't feel like you can keep up with that, there's no worries about it. You can just break the law and kick the werewolf in the tail and beat him up, because not much else is going to happen with that. And as you can see, Steffi is a ridiculous level. She's level 71. She's the highest level character I've got in the game. It's a bit crazy. And I can say by the end of this little endeavor of trying to get through all this, she almost has a full MVP tower. And she's gotten MVP like 3 times since I started this whole endeavor. All of them from one claim trial. But we'll get to that. Alright. And I was just kind of showing, okay, this is sort of what you gotta do to more or less keep yourself in the clear of if you're wanting to keep the law intact. And honestly, this is the best way to go about it, going for a death attack. By not using awareness, but actually by using a... and I was kind of going about, it's like, okay, can you inflict him with anything? The answer to that is no. He actually has an Orb of Meanwoo, which is a bit silly, but that's what he's got. So... you're able to inflict him with Doom, but he cannot be inflicted by anything else. But he can be inflicted with insta-death, which is what I try to go for. And there you go. And I actually do get this pulled off, and he is instantly KO'd. And that is honestly the quickest way to do it, because there's not really any other way to inflict instant death. There's a couple of other ways, but nothing as reliable to get as that move. And of course, Ostin gets to level up out of that. So there you go. And you don't get much out of keeping the law intact, so I don't see really too much of a point to do that. The best way to go about it is just to beat him up with dual wielding, and just all the spells that you have. Now, the second one is going to be, well, not the second one, the third one's going to be Negotiation. This is where you get into the minuses, and also this is where you'll get into the part where there are points, titles that don't give you anything. Intermediaries and brokers don't give you anything. If you go with Hagglers, you get Empowered Numu. Barterers give you Luck Up 2, and Orators give you Luck Up 3. And again, if you're going for the luck, you just go for the Orators a few times. If you don't have any, just go for it all 3 times. If you've already got one, you just have to go for it twice and you're good to go. There is a little bit of kind of what's the best way to put this? There's a little bit of a snag, I guess is one way to put it. You have to uphold the law in this one, and targeting distant units is forbidden. This is the clan trial that can bite you pretty badly, because if at any point your characters, even if they're using melee attacks or right up in the face attacks, and they get a crit, and that bunny moves at all, you lose. You can get the crit, and if somebody's behind that bunny, you're good to go. But if at any point that bunny moves while you're attacking, that's considered attacking a distant unit, and you automatically lose. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I lost this clan trial because of that. I have lost that numerous times, even while trying to do the recording. Luso walked up to one of those bunnies, did his double strike, dual-wielding coolness, and got a crit, and I lost the clan trial. So, it's a bit annoying to go through all of that. Now, it's not impossible to go through it, but the best way to make sure you don't have that issue is either attack the ones that are against the wall that tend to have a lot of luck to pull that kind of move off, or use your skills, or abilities I should say, because abilities do not have the chance of crit. The only thing that can crit is your actual physical attack, which is why I had Peta use Dark Fist, because there was no chance he was going to crit. Now, there is a lot of stuff tied to going through all this. I did keep Movery as a Beastmaster just to finish Drake. I do run into a little bit of a thing to where I fight a few monsters and just to get some AP and master stuff, which is why you'll see some job changes here and there. But for the most part, it's going to be the characters being all the same. And that is it for Negotiation 1. Now, as you can see, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, this is the start of the ones that actually have minuses to your talents. So you do want to keep an eye on that. You don't want your talents to go really low in level, because it'll become increasingly hard to bring it back up. You can use the negotiation ones, or the level ones, to increase it a little bit so you can do the bigger ones, but there is a limit, like a bar you have to go and meet before you can do the higher leveled ones. So it's better just to keep them at least 50, but it's up to you, because a lot of the quests require you to have that that certain level, or not level, but certain amount of talent being there. Now, in this one you have to fight 6 tomatoes, which is a bit silly. But you also get safekeeping if you do mediator, and you can get luck up 5 if you do the master's version of it. Again, you don't get anything if you do the second or the fourth one, which is not the worst thing ever. I mean, I guess things could be a lot worse, but hey. And as far as this goes, just going through it's not going to be too hard. You do have to avoid having multiple characters side by side. Have no adjacent units, whether you be beside your own or be beside enemies. So essentially, the best way to go about it is make sure you can KO one of them. Like this one, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make sure this tomato is not going to live. And there you go. The tomato no longer lives. It's just pretty much doing that the entire time. Making sure that you have yourself... I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. Yeah, the best... The thing is, these tomatoes are pretty much nothing at this point. And it's a bit of a joke of a fight. The only thing that's really difficult is to make sure you don't have that grouping. That's really it. And the biggest problem is if you missed. And if you're that concerned about it, I would go with just having the accuracy up rather than power. But if you're not strong enough and you don't think you can defeat the enemy in one attack, then just go for power and just have a lot of long range units. That's the best way to go about this fight. That or have a lot of characters that have unscathed, because that's a lot of damage. Paint is just a bit ridiculous if you ask me. Peter's just been a powerhouse this entire time. And Pola got the level up. She didn't actually attack, but she got a level up regardless. So, you know what, I'm not going to complain. I kind of grew pretty fond of Pola after doing all this clan trial stuff. She's one of those characters like, oh man, Pola. But anyway, as you see, I got the one of the privileges that I didn't have before. And this is Aptitude. Essentially, you got to find the winning barrel within 2 rounds. The winning barrel is going to be strung about multiple barrels, and the best way to go about this one is to have a lot of characters with high movement, so either dash boots or ninja toes, or just general classes that have high movement. Like even the Sage has a pretty good movement range. And then having the move 2 you got from the general training 2, and just being able to go across the entire map in one move. That's the best way to go about it. It says attacking's forbidden, but you're never going to break the law because you never have to attack. It's essentially going to be a very easy quest. Well, clan trial, this is the easiest clan trial in the entire game. It's seriously it. You can only take 3 people with you, which is, honestly, it's really fine. There's not really a reason why you should take more. But the best way to go about it is just walking around, make sure you can find the winning barrel. And I just can tell you, finding the winning barrel can either be random luck where it's like, oh, you examine the first barrel and that's the winning barrel, or you search all of them and you get the last one. I happened to find it on the second go around. Aptitude 2 is going to be a little bit more difficult. It's going to have a little bit more to it. But overall, it's not going to be bad. But this is also the one where you get empowered Benga as well, and also get an increase on your power up. And with Aptitude 2, this is where you get to power up a 5 and empowered Seek. So you want to make sure you have that Power Up 5, because, I mean, come on, if you haven't seen me use Power Up 5 enough, you probably haven't watched much of this series. I've been using that almost all the time, just simply because of how much damage your characters can do to end the fights in the most quickest and painless way possible, because it's just such a significant help. Now, there are times, like you've seen in the aptitude tests, that I used movement up, and you're going to see that happen here as well. But for the most part, unless you see a really big need to have a different type of privilege going for you, there's not really a need to pick anything other than power. Because usually, by the time you get the movement up, you're kind of used to your character's movement anyway. Unless you're doing something like this to where you have to get to a certain point by a certain time, it makes it a lot easier to get to those points. So, once again, you have to find the winning barrel in 2 rounds. You cannot use ice. You don't have to worry about breaking the law in the aptitude ones, which is actually pretty nice. I am glad they didn't make you follow the... It's like, okay, you can't break the law on this one. They made it to where it's a bit arbitrary. You can, you don't have to, but... Now, I picked my Gria to go on this venture, mainly because I was kind of seeing if I can increase her movement. There wasn't really a need to do that, because she's already got a good, decent amount. Ooh, excuse me. And essentially, my Gria, she's just going to be an insane character. I'm just gonna be honest, I really like Grias. As you can see, good grief, that movement, and she can move anywhere because she flies there. Yeah, and that's why I picked her, is so she could go immediately to that barrel if it was the winning one. The unfortunate thing is, it was just an ordinary barrel. This is one where I almost slightly panicked because I could not find the barrel right away, and I'm going, okay, where is it? And I was kind of concerned if I would or would not be able to get to it in time. I am able to get to it, so, which is a good thing, but still, that slight panic is there. Now, this whole ordeal is not too bad. It may seem a bit crazy having to deal with bombs as well as this, but this is an Aptitude 2 with with the bombs being 23 in their level, like in their low to mid 20s, which is not bad. They're not going to do a whole lot of damage. They're just there to be a nuisance and possibly block you from getting to the barrel in time. That's mainly their big that's why they're there. And oh gosh, you'd think I wouldn't yawn as much, but apparently that's not going to happen this time. I think in terms of like all the whole batch of recording that it took for this video, it was like 3 hours. So you're seeing about half of that. Oh man, it was something else. But anyway, it's just yeah, it's the last barrel I checked. I'm like, oh my gosh, what in the world was going on with that? What in the world was going on with that? It's mainly just this whole rigmarole of crazy. That's all I gotta say. But, of course, that is the Aptitude ones. The next ones that we're going to be going into is Teamwork. Alright, Teamwork 1, you're going to be getting your Empowered Vera as your first one, and you're going to get Speed Up 2 and 3 for the 3rd and the 5th selection. and it's one you also have to you're required with upholding the law, and you cannot use any MP in the fight. And you're going to be fighting mimics. It's not hard. Mimics are very spongy. Well, they're not spongy, they're more of just like you touch them and they'll fall over. They're very fragile. I don't know why I said spongy. Spongy is more like, oh, I can take all the damage and you're not going to kill me. No, these guys are like pieces of glass. You just hit it hard enough and they shatter. That and all the hands, it's just a bit weird. Now, a way you can kind of skirt the edge when it comes to doing this is yeah, the way to skirt the edge into on doing this one is using blood price. Or, well, no, wait a minute. I'm thinking of a totally different one. I was thinking of the ones that say, I think it's like the next one of saying don't use MP. This one is saying if you attack, you have to use MP. My bad. Gosh. Sometimes I can't remember half of what I'm trying to do. Anyway. Sorry about that. It's pretty easy to get you to be using MP. Like, even that, the charge shot, that helped out with the whole thing. And you can, like, Luso, I'm having him use Screech. Although he misses with that, which is a bit weird. And it had a 95% chance of hitting and he missed. Oh, you know what? I was thinking of the one, I think it is the next one. You fight a couple of tome berries, and they essentially you can't actually hit them with MP attacks. You have to do it with your other abilities, or have blood price, which uses your HP, and that's how you skirt the edge of not using MP. If you just use your HP for it. But that is going to be only for the Vera class. There's not another there's not a class in the other races that use blood price. It's a sensitive needle. Alright. And then I have move where you just kind of walk up there and just use water and to just get rid of the mimic, and there you go. That's the end of that. And that's it for Teamwork 1. And Stevie got... It's not like she needed it! Good grief. Now for Teamwork 2, that's going to be coming up. You're going to be finishing up Speed, and well, Speed Up, because you're going to have Speed Up 5, and you're going to have Empowered Gria as your first level. So you do want to get the Empowered Gria as the privilege as well, if you're going for all the privileges, which apparently that's what I'm doing. By showing all of this off, I'm going through the whole process of recording all of... Recording? What? I'm recording the trials and what they entail. But, essentially, this one's just fighting 6 chocobos, and that's with the highest one. You're gonna fight less chocobos the lower levels you go, and it's not. This one's not difficult. It's it's chocobos. So they have very low defenses, and honestly, it's fairly simple to go about it. The whole smash gauge that you can't have it above 60% is a bit kind of bits of kick in the teeth, but just kind of like as that whole thing of, oh well, I'm just gonna kind of push it and see if I can break the law. I just got the smash gauge bonus 1. As you can see, I don't currently, while I'm doing this part of the recording, I don't have smash bonus 1. By the next episode, I should have the smash bonus 3. I think it goes up to, as well as all the other privileges that I don't have. They're pretty much all tied in the ones I don't have are all tied in the final 4. And it's just trying to go through that. I've gotten most of them. I think there's like a few I don't have. And as far as it goes going through this, it's not really difficult. It's mainly just having to go through all of these animations of them using regen, because they all have the skill regenerate. And the one thing that makes this clan trial difficult is the fact that they will have it where you are having to fight 6 chocobos that have regen that are all attacking each other. Well, not that are either attacking you or they're healing each other, which is usually what's going on, because especially if you're hitting them, they're like, oh no, Choco Cure let's Choco Cure him all the time. Let's not stop Choco Curing him. It's a bit annoying in this one. But if you have characters with high enough speed and you're able to take care of it, you shouldn't have a problem, but you never know. You might have a problem. And excuse me. This whole mission's not too... well, this clan trial's not bad. It's certainly not the worst. But it can be a bit silly trying to go through it. And here I'm just trying to... it's like, alright, how am I gonna go about this? How am I gonna fight this? I don't know. And I just decided to go with Air Blast to KO 2 of them in a row, which makes it a lot easier, trust me. Alright, you're done there. Movery, unfortunately, since he only has 10 MP, he does not have 20, I couldn't just cast water and be done with it. But yeah, this happens. They have regenerate to recover about 40-ish, 40 to 50 HP, and then they Choco Cure each other for 60 to 65. If your characters are not high, well, I take that back, they're 20 to 23. Okay, it recovers about 10% of their HP, and they're sitting there using Choco Berry or Choco Cure to make sure they don't get damaged, and they're sitting there healing themselves all the time, and you're going, really? It's a bit much. It is a bit much. But as you can see, also I changed Dumas back to a Dragoon to help take care of these problems. And that's because he mastered all the abilities that the Templar had going for him, which is pretty good. And boom. Chocobo's gone. Chocobo's going down. I don't know why I feel like doing that, baby. Oh boy. It's just something else, I tell you. Something else. And uncommon judge. There's not too much to say about teamwork. It's a fairly simple one. Adaptability is going to be another one that's going to be a bit iffy. I mean, all you really need to worry about, really need to do is know that you get empowered Moogles and you get the agility ups in this one. This one's a bit weird. It says dispatch them however you want, but here's the thing: you can't KO any of these guys. You can't like go up there and slice them and dice them and they're gone. So the wording of the judge is a bit weird. It's a bit off. So this one, it says drive off all foes within 3 rounds, and you can't use fire, lightning, or ice. Well, here's the thing. How you may be wondering, oh, good, you know, I need something to wake me up. But you may be wondering how in the world are you gonna go about doing this. I just kind of picked whatever, just simply because I know it's gonna be really silly. Right off turn 1, it'll show you one of the flans that the flan you have to walk up to. Then you have to do experiment. And it will give you one of 3 options. It will be different for each type of flan. This one's only the fire flans. As you can see, if you pick the wrong selection, nothing happens. So nothing really goes anywhere for you. You need to find what the correct option is and then select it to drive off the flan. This one, they kind of signal what's the expression you should do to drive them off, but unless you're used to it, it's a bit it's a bit weird. And at that point, it's like, whatever. I'm using the opportunity commands when I get the chance to. But anyway. Panda's gonna come in, and based on what he did, I was like, alright, I'm gonna stare him down. If he's trying to dodge, I'm gonna stare him down. And it works. It drives him off. Now, there are times when the flans can do the same thing multiple times, and you just need to do the same thing. Also, on their turns, they will do the same animation that they got themselves into. Well, they did the same animation that they did when they became the next one. You get what I'm talking about, I hope. It's just convoluted and sometimes confusing. There you go. And he turns tail and runs. And there you go. You are done with and that was Adaptability 1. That was what that was. Now there are other there is the Adaptability 2, which is similar, but also just as ridiculous. And no, I'm not joking. Oh boy. Here comes Adaptability 2. You get the finish for agility up, and you get Libra if you went for Contrivers, which is the first level of it. It essentially makes it to where you get to really kind of go with whatever oh gosh, I'm sorry, I'm tired and I'm blinking on some things. Oh, I've been working on this video for a while. That's why I'm tired. Oh gosh. I don't think I ever used Libra, but Libra essentially it'll show you every single one of the traps that are out there. You don't have to worry about using awareness. like the sequel to use, Libra will just straight up show you where they all are, so you don't have to worry about it. So if at any point you needed help with the missions, it's like, hey, I need help disarming traps and stuff like that, you can use Libra to help you out with finding them. Well, actually, those usually actually had it visible. My bad. You know what? Never mind. My bad, I didn't really think that through all the way. But as you can see, this has the electric flan, the fire flan, and the ice flan. But each one of the flans will have different reactions you can do. This, the yellow flan, you can either do poke, pat, or praise. I don't even know why you would poke, pat, or praise a flan, but you can, and apparently pat works. Don't ask why, because I honestly don't know. I really don't. And so you think I would remember which one did what? But no. I will say this though, I've had it where at times using the animation that the flan does would be the same through each one, and I've picked the same response, and it was like, oh, but nothing happened. So I get the whole thing about testing all of it. It's essentially just trial and error. If you can figure out more, it's a pattern of just going through it. Usually it's the luck of the draw, from what my understanding of this is. Nothing else. Sorry, Dolroth, you were not successful into dealing with the flan. I'm just gonna have to have Luso deal with the flan. I think if it did that, well, I ended up slapping the flan, which makes no sense, but whatever. Now we are done with the single increase and single decrease ones. Honestly, I think out of all of them, you would just need master improvisers quite a bit. The only ones you really need to do is contrivers and master improvisers. Up to that point, if you've not done agility up at any point, you just need to do that a few times and you're good. Now, negotiation teamwork, this is the one I was thinking about earlier, about you can't use NP at all in this fight. This one, you get something for every level, so I would encourage you to at least look at which ones. This one, you only need to do advocates, champions, well, advocates and master judiciaries. You do get debuff resistance 2 here. You don't need to do debuff resistance 2, like I said earlier. You can just build it up from another one, and honestly, the less times you have to play this, the better. Bonus AP 3 is really good, especially if you're trying to get people to master their jobs quickly. Always counter. If you're going for completion, it's okay. It's really nice, especially if there are some characters that just don't have the ability to counter, but you want them to. Either they haven't learned it or something to that extent. And this is where always counter comes in. If they don't have anything in their reaction slot, they will just straight up counter. So maybe for Steefy that would be nice, but in the end I think it's better that she has return fire in case some Nimrod wants to try to hit her with a bow, and I can just have power up 5 and she can go and double slice them. That's just my opinion. This one mainly just takes a while because you have to walk up to the tome berries. Otherwise, it's really not that long. I don't know why they put you that far away from the tome berries, but for some reason they thought it was a brilliant idea to do that. The one thing about the Toneberries, though, you do want to be careful of their stalking, because they are the master stalkers. Essentially, if, and they do have the chance of doing other things as well, but that's the majority of what they do. They'll spend their turn to stalk, and after that, they will then pick they'll pick the character they want to stalk, and once they pick the character they want to stalk, they will only hit that target, or they'll only go after that one target. They won't even bother about anything else. So if you're trying to figure out a way to go around a Toneberry, the best way to go about it is once someone is stalked, just have them stay away from the Toneberry. And the Toneberry can only move 2 spaces at a time, so it's pretty easy to do that. Or, alternatively, you can just straight up one-shot the Toneberry. That way you don't have to deal with it. That's just up to you. Whether you choose to go about that way or not, it's neither here nor there, really. Trying to think of what else. Really, this one isn't too bad. One thing you do want to look out for is if he is stalking somebody, don't put him in HP crit. Or keep that person away from the Toneberry if they are the one being stalked. And just attack the Toneberry with all you got. If you don't do that, and you put him in HP crit, and the person that is being stalked is within range of the Toneberry will instantly kill that person, so you want to be careful of that. But again, it's not that difficult of a mission to do, it's just a bit annoying that you gotta avoid using MP. That's where Blood Price comes in handy, especially if you're wanting to cast. And I did the Advocates because I didn't have bonus AP3. That's why I went for it. The Toneberries are a lot harder if you do the Master Adjudicators. Now, this is the one I was talking about earlier. The one, if you want to grind up for MVP, this is the best one to do it. Adaptability, Negotiation. The privileges you get are the bonus Gil 1, 2, and 3. You also get debuff resistance 3 for the third one, and non-elemental attacks if you go for the Master Intercessors. Now, the only ones you really need to do are Catalyst and Master Intercessors. Catalyst is just needed for the bonus Gil. And then Master Intercessors, that makes any elemental attack, whether it be summoning, from either your abilities or from your weapons, they will be considered non-elemental. Which is amazing, especially when they're saying, hey, don't use elements, or this specific element. You can say, well, I want to use that person, or I want to use those spells. Hey, let's just use non-elemental attack, and it's not going to count it as that. It also helps against flans that have, or monsters that have resistances against every single element. And they just have weak resistances. You can just say, hey, guess what? I'm going to start casting, and you can't do anything about it. Now, this is how I did it, and it's going to be a lot easier if you have bonus gauge 3. I would encourage it. You can do it with bonus gauge 1, but it's kind of pushing it. The way to go about it is to have your characters cast buffs on each other. Now, to kind of go into it a little bit, the reason why you want people to have a full MVP tower is for the quests that require you to have the max MVP tower, or you won't be able to complete the quest, essentially, if you're trying to dispatch for it. So an earnest gratitude is going to be that one that's going to be the ridiculous one that's going to be incredibly hard to do if you don't have the max MVP, it's close to impossible because you won't be able to do it otherwise. Now, from the goal that you're trying to do here to get that MVP is to make sure the smash gauge is at 100%. That is, from what I gather, what is required to have that happen. You need 100% smash gauge to be called the MVP. Not 99%, you need the whole gauge to be there. And it sounds a bit insane and crazy and stuff like that to kind of be pushing it that much, but that is so true. You really need that. And the way to do it in this one is you're just having to survive. I would go ahead and say this, harming the weak is against the law and you have to uphold it. So take off any counters, any bone crushers, anything like that, because the turkeys will attack you. Or the chickens, however you want to call them. They're all the same. Now, doing double casting is really going to help out your Viras in this regard. This is going to make sure your Vira is casting and doing a successful action. Essentially, to increase your smash gauge, you have to complete a successful action. And you don't have to move, you don't have to do anything but act. If you complete the successful action, you have completed the task, you are good to go. Whether that is attacking an enemy, healing an ally, it doesn't matter. As long as you complete that successful action, you increase your smash gauge. Seems simple. Well, a way to help increase it more, besides having the smash gauge up 1, 2, or 3, is to make sure if you have AoE attacks or AoE spells, that you hit as many units as possible. And that is the best way to go about it. As you can see here, I'm just casting Protect on everybody. And not too many are actually getting it, other than Dumas and Mouvri. But just look at what Astra does for Dumas after he gets the completion of this action of getting all 5 of them with Astra. It goes up by twice the amount it was. And essentially the best way to go about it, and I eventually just say, you know what, I'm going to leave it there, is to have that group of 5 just sitting around. And from there, also using these actions, the opportunity commands also really increase the gauge quite a bit. But anyway, you want to make sure that you're hitting as many characters as possible with your buffs, your heals, and your attacks to increase the smash gauge. And this one, just using AoE spells and stuff like that, that is the best way to go about it. As you can see, it took a lot. It takes a lot to get Moogles with higher up, especially if higher up with the smash gauge if you're not attacking. Both them, Sikhs, and Moogles, Sikhs, and Bangas can be pretty difficult. Humans, they have a variety of things they can do, so it's pretty simple. Using blue magic really does help quite a bit, especially if you're using stuff like Mighty Guard. It increases it a decent amount. And casting haste on yourself is really important on this as well. That's why I'm making sure everyone has haste. But as you can see, I'm going through it, and just making sure that my whole team has the regen cured, like being cured by every injury they have. I'm using Steefy's summoning magic to do that. And this out of all the clan trials is going to be the longest one, just simply because of how long it actually takes to do it. Because you have to wait for 3 turns to be over. You're not waiting for the 3 turns to end. It will back up. You're not trying to do something before 3 turns is over. You're trying to wait for 3 turns to be over. There we go. I was trying to get my words articulated the best way possible. But, and the thing is, it doesn't have to succeed to actually putting the buff onto your person. You just have to cast it on multiple characters for it to give you the best benefit. And the reason why I do believe it's this mash gauge that's so important if you're wanting to get the MVP is by the end of the this fight, you'll see why. It's kind of like this. This is what happens when you have so many characters just cast buffs on each other. It can be a tad ridiculous. Now, it would also go up pretty fast if you're attacking and KOing enemies and stuff like that. The thing is, all my clan members are above level 30, and that's what the lowest level of these guys is level 30. So you want to make sure that you have that capability of oh shoot, what was I'm trying to think about? You want to make sure you do this in such a way that you're constantly keeping up with how all this is going. I'm sorry I'm being so vague in this. It's because I'm trying to think of the best way to articulate this, and I'm doing a terrible job of it. I am so sorry. Oh man. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it, and I'm not coming up with it. Now, there is one way to go about doing this a little bit differently. It only includes the human class, though, is that you can kind of go through this whole rigmarole at trying to increase the limelight of your character, a character, and then have your character as a thief use steal limelight, and just steal the limelight of your character. Although you could use it to steal the limelight of other characters, and that's your smash gauge. And that's all it is. It's you stealing the smash gauge from your opponent or whoever you're stealing it from. But that is a way to go about it. And I'm not 100% sure, but this is going to be something I'm going to be testing out in between this episode and the next one, which is probably why I won't have one up for the rest of the week, because I'm trying to figure out what What are the best ways to go about unlocking these quests I can't seem to find? But they're there. I'm thinking I'm having to increase the MVP of the people that are involved in it. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I'm going to be using this clan trial as the building point for that. And we'll see whether or not that's actually what's going on, or if it's just complete nonsense. But as you can see, their limelights, their smash gauge is growing quite at a good pace too. We're about halfway through this match. No, I'm not kidding. It takes a while, especially if you haste your people. It takes quite a bit, and you're going, oh my goodness. Oh boy. Something else, I'll tell you, something else. Now, using the Mighty Guard, it seems to do quite a bit in terms of helping you out with the smash gauge. I guess it's because it's such a rare move. But yeah. And this one, I'm just kind of going, okay, I want to make sure my Moogle's spellbound, that way his buffs last longer, that way, even though it's like, yeah, I can just recast it on him, I'm wanting to avoid having to worry about it. So, that way, it's like, oh no, he lost a few turns because he lost haste. And essentially I'm having Dolroth just constantly hit Steefy with Quicken, that way she can gain her MVP gauge, that way in essence she would be able to become an MVP again. Words, they seem to be so difficult to say. Good grief. Anyway. But strangely enough, before the end of this fight, all of my characters get the MVP. All of them. Not just one, not just two. Every single one of them get the MVP, which tells me it is linked to the smash gauge because every one of them had a full smash gauge by the end of it. And I also learned while doing this a few times afterward. Well, was it afterward? No, it was actually before. Because I was trying to get at least some of the characters, some of the privileges before I actually did the recording. And because I was also trying to figure out what the MVP was linked to, and it was something else. But it was kind of silly because I was going to do Movery had one last move before the end of turn 3 came around. And I was like, okay, I have the ability to use my acrobatics to do one of two things. Either hit Movery with it, or hit Steefy with it. And I essentially, I hit Movery with it, and that action gave him a full smash gauge, and he got the MVP, and Steefy didn't get it. So it's just this whole idea of, okay, I chose who got the MVP in that. But to me, at least, it's like, okay, at least there is that grounds of, okay, this is what MVP, this is what constitutes someone getting the MVP. And essentially I'm just having him constantly use Spellbound. That way he can get the multiple hits and stuff like that. And when necessary, have him cast Hastega. That was my whole thought process. And I'm just kind of, okay, I'll just pick whatever and pick whatever characters and see what does what. And the thing is, each summon that's a support summon does their own thing. So if you have Unicorn heals you with the status elements, while Phoenix rises the characters from the dead, which is nice. It's actually really nice because there's a few spells that will there's a couple of spells that will actually revive people from the dead, but not as well as Phoenix, because Phoenix will also heal other people, and it's also within a wide area. So you can revive multiple people at a time, as well as heal other characters. It's just phenomenal, and I love Phoenix. Just putting it out there. And the fact that I have a character that can do double casting summon, it's really nice. You know, I'm at this point where it's like, okay, I think I've talked about enough about this, and I don't know what to talk about elsewise. Talk about our day. Talk about what's going on. I don't know. Do a lot. And as you can see, Dumas almost has a full gauge there. And the chicken's like, oh my gosh, I gotta take him out. No! I'm making fun of the chicken. It is so funny. Dumas takes 1 damage and heals 1. It's like, I only took 1 point of damage. You can deal with it, chicken. But anyway. Again, I'm just like, alright, let's just kind of roll with it. And I was hoping, it doesn't happen. I was hoping to hit all 8 of them in one go with Pola's summoning to really help out. Unfortunately, that just won't happen. And to do the protect, it's like, okay, I could either protect or just hit cure with it and cure herself 4 times. And you know, that's the crazy thing. I'm not sure why, but you think reflect. It's like, okay, reflect all spells. No, it's just black and white magic. Blue magic isn't affected by it. Elemental magic's not affected by it. Summoning's not affected by it. So it's like, what's the point of reflect? It causes more issues than it does help. I mean, sometimes, yeah, it can help you out, but I've seen it do more harm than good. And that's true. I've seen reflect, in my experience of playing the tactics games, reflect has done more harm to me than good. Because I've had times where I either forgot a character had the mirror armor, or it's something to that extent, and I went to go heal the character with a curative spell, because that's usually how you heal later in the game. You don't worry about items. You're trying to use cure, or cura, or curaga, to only be met with, oh, the person had mirror armor. Yeah, that just really ruined your day, didn't it? And you go, no! You get slightly mad. Just slightly. But as you see, yeah, is Stevie and Dumas already had fully, or really close to full MVP, and Stevie, well, Pola didn't have wasn't quite there. She was getting there, but she wasn't quite there. So I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna use the Smile Toss onto Pola to help give her that boost she needed. And well, all that healing. She just barely didn't reach it. Movery, as you can see, he's gonna use Extend one last time. I think it's one last time. And he should have a full MVP, full smash gauge. No, not there quite yet. And as you can see, that's what a full smash gauge looks like. And you see it by that little tip to the left side of the gauge, and it'll show you that'll tell you that, hey, it's a full gauge. If you don't see that little tip to the side, and you don't have a full gauge. Like, he doesn't have a full gauge. But after this, he does get it because he just gave 5 people a war dance. Even though they didn't need it. And I know Luso doesn't need the MVP tower, but because he's already got it full. But hey. And at this point, it's like, okay, just let's kind of quickly end that turn because she's got a full gauge. I'm not gonna worry about that. And Dumas, he's pretty much got it going. You just cast one aura on that group over there, you're good to go. And it's just the completion of it all. Just the satisfaction of having that whole thing done. It was just something else. Now, Movery, this is where he gets the full MVP. I keep calling it MVP gauge because it's pretty much that. It's like, okay, are you quite there at the MVP yet? No, not quite. So, it's just really mostly that. And as you can see, Dolroth has got he's actually got one last turn. You can't actually see it because the thing's in the way. I didn't really know a good place to actually put it. The second screen, I guess I could have done one on the top, one on the bottom. I don't know. But I figured in terms of layout, this is probably the best way to go about it. And this is going to be the only video that does this, so... because I'm just sitting here trying to explain what all these different things do. And these two phoenixes are the end of it, and she ends it with a full MVP gauge, a full smash gauge. And there you go. Every single one of them got an MVP. That just goes to tell you the smash gauge is it. That's what you want to fill if you're going for MVPs. Master Intercessors, you're good to go. Now, for Teamwork and Aptitude, you're going to get your bonus EXP 1 and 2 here. Also, you're going to get the bonus AP 3 here. Debuff Resistance 2. I don't know why that's a 2 here. They scatter it everywhere. Don't know why. But that's what's going on there. Another thing is that you want to mostly go for that MP preservation on the Master Hands. Hands of Steel, Hands of Silver, Hands of Divinity, Hands of Gold, and Master Hands. At least it's not the dab hands like we had earlier going on. If you didn't notice, that was one of the titles that went through. And essentially this one is you have to examine a pot a few times before you are able to actually I believe it's 8 times for the Master Hands one. You have to observe it 8 times before 3 turns is over. So again, you want someone with a lot of movement. And here I'm like, okay, if they cast roulette, I'm kind of in trouble. So I just decided to go with equipping a different set for Lucio. But it does change back later. I was trying to check up on something to make sure I wasn't completely nuts. Yeah, it's debuff resistance 2 for some reason. Debuff resistances are kind of spread across the different negotiation teamwork stuff. I think there's like the 5. Yeah, the debuff resistance 5 is going to be in the general training 2. So if you did general training 2 enough, you wouldn't have to actually worry about having to go and find go through all these other quests to get the debuff resistance. I don't see a point to doing different quests to get the same, like just an upgraded version of it. Just do it enough of one specific one to be done with it. I don't know. That's just me. But that being said, this one's pretty simple. It doesn't take too long of a time. It's a little bit... especially if you consider the last one, that took a while. No, this one doesn't take too much. It takes longer than the other ones, besides the Aptitude and Negotiation one. And this one takes roughly probably about a minute or 2, just simply because you gotta go across the map and examine the jar. Again, you want the higher movement range for these. Also getting rid of the enemy in this is going to be nice, especially because these guys like to cast roulette, and they like to cast status elements. So having ribbons and orbs of Minwu and just generally having as much of a way to keep yourself from getting instantly killed is the best way to go about it. Thankfully, there is no shenanigans caused by these the eyeballs. They tried one thing against Steefy, but it didn't do them any good. And this is where it is with the demonic gaze. They tried, but it fails because she's got a ribbon. Now, trying to think. Yeah, there's not really too much to go on about this. As you can see, it's mainly, hey, let's just examine the pot. And you examine the magic pot has been examined one time. And the thing is, though, it moves. So you can't just surround it and then examine it 4 times and then be close to being done with it. That's why I spread my people out like I did. That way you could examine each one of them. Funny thing is it appeared right back to where it started, so I was like, ah, come on, really? So that was actually I found it funny, at least. And here I'm going, oh, you know what? I could actually just hit all 3 of them, but no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to hit Steefy. Steefy is way too cool to be hit by one of my characters, unless they were charmed. In that case, I could control what they did. There is a height requirement to actually examine the pot, though, so you want to keep that in mind. That way you don't go up the wrong way on the mountain, and it's like, well, I can't examine it. What's going on? Well, you're too high up. Oh. So, there is that. But in this one, you just make sure your characters are spread out to where they can get to the pot in time. Because you don't... It's random to where the pot will show up. It'll even show up there. It's like, really? I don't know. But it's pretty easy to get Agria down there without any problems. She just examines the pot and it's gone. Now, and it appears in the same spot again. That can happen, which is a bit annoying. Especially in a place where only one person can examine it. I was kind of missing my double hit there. That was one thing I was missing. I'm like, man, I kind of wish I had double shot right now. But the pugilism helps out and just deals with this guy no problem. The nice thing is, after you're done with fighting the enemies, you don't have to worry about any status elements or anything like that. I was kind of just walking around just because it's like there's not really a reason to hang out unless the pot shows up there, and thankfully it doesn't. It shows up like right in front of Peter and just is like, yo, what's up? And Peter's like, oh man, there's a pot that's right in front of me, I gotta examine it. And he examines it, is like, okay, you examined me, I'm peacing out. It appears right in front of Luso. So it was just such perfect timing because the fact that it was from Lillian all the way to Peter and now to Luso, and then it puts itself in a very optimal spot, which is right there. Of course, you can get a bit screwed over where the RNG of the pot showing up can be in the same spot and you have to examine it so many times. Yeah, that can happen to you. That's where you use Quicken and other abilities like that just to make the person's turn show up a lot more. There's not much else to this one. The MP preservation just is basically like making your abilities cost less. So that's something you want to look into also with the bonus AP and the bonus EXP. Keep that in mind. Now for the last clan trial. Yes, we're finally at the last one. Good grief. Aptitude and Adaptability. This one has the first debuff resistance. I don't see a point to do that one, but it also has the smash gauge 1, 2, and 3. I would definitely do the Hands of Gold a few times. I only did the Hands of Silver, so that's why I only have the smash gauge 1. But I do want to have smash gauge 2 and 3. I'm going to do that off screen. And I'm doing Master Hands in this one, so I do get the MP channeling. And MP channeling is you just basically have a regen for your MP, which is nice. It's kind of, and the best way to couple that is if you have the Replenish MP reaction ability along with MP channeling, and also have Turbo MP, so you can just blow everything out of the water. That's awesome. That would be awesome. So your spells are going to be massive damage, and you gain so much MP just by existing and getting hit. It's not going to cost you anything. Alright, this one, again, you're going to want movement up 2 because you have to search the shiny spots. Now, the annoying thing about this one is that the shiny spots, like the pot, moves every time you examine one of them. I didn't immediately have Steefy go to the one she can get to, just simply because I don't see a point for that. Because I want someone, like in the other one, just kind of... I wanted my clan that I dispersed for this to be spread out. I did use Ziso for the first collection of the shiny spot, or shimmering light, my bad. And then at this point it's like, okay, let's just collect as many as possible, as quickly as possible, that way when they do switch it's just going to be a few spots here and there and not too much to worry about. Now, good grief. The slowdown on that was just horrendous, and that's a limitation of the game. And there we go, it's collected again, everything's moved. Funny thing is I'm now noticing the shimmering light behind Steefy's ears. I did not notice that while I was playing. That is something I did not notice. And I was like, there's nothing up there, I don't know why I'm going up there. And that happens again. So if at any point end of turn comes around, you have it where the shimmering lights change spaces. So it really hurts if you're running after one and it goes like from one side of the one side of the battlefield to the other, and you have all your characters heading to one side. That's why I'm suggesting, hey, just keep your people spread out. It makes it a lot easier on you. Oh man, it's just so crazy. But I will say this, this one actually goes by pretty quickly, especially if you have movement too. That is something you do kind of want to keep an eye on. Seems Pena doesn't want to have any of your shenanigans. He'll just whack you right over the head is what he'll do. I don't know why I didn't get the other shimmering light. Now I'm questioning what I'm doing. It's like, what was I thinking? Alright. I had move regain. Well, gather that shimmering light. Here's the funny thing. I'm sitting here like, okay, where'd it go? Where's the shimmering light? I don't know where it went. And it's sitting right beside Ziso. So I'm like, ah, okay. Because 2 turns later, well, not 2 turns, 3 turns later, there's his turn, and he was able to examine it. Boom. There you go. Nice and easily done. Oh, man. That is the last shimmering light. And that is Aptitude and Adaptability. And guess what, guys? That is the last of all the clan trials. Maybe I should have split it up. I don't know. But I feel good that I got it all done. So, essentially, I just kind of want to put this out there. This was a lot of recording to do just to get them. I don't know why it took as long as it did. It seriously took me several hours, more than the recording actually has, because there were some failed attempts because of something dumb happening or me just not thinking like I should have been. And that's where I was like, okay, that's what that is, that's what the other one is, okay, we're good. But anyway, I want to thank you for joining me for this long and kind of in-depth about these clan trials, and in the next one we'll get into more shenanigans with quests. Hopefully we'll have Earnest Delight completed in the next one. I'll see you guys then. Later.